All right, let's unlock a door that honestly might feel a little bit intimidating at first. The hacker's initiation. In this explainer, we are going to completely demystify Kali Linux. And most importantly, we're going to figure out exactly how to learn it safely by setting up a VirtualBox environment. So if you've been wanting to take that very first leap into the world of cybersecurity, this is exactly where we begin.
But here is the big question. Are you ready to safely explore ethical hacking? For a lot of beginners, the biggest hurdle isn't actually the technology itself. It's the very real fear of totally wrecking their primary computer. And hey, that's a completely valid concern. That is exactly why VirtualBox is the ultimate risk-free sandbox for this journey. Think of a sandbox like a giant digital playground where you can break things on purpose, experiment wildly, and push the limits without ever destroying your actual computer or losing your day-to-day files.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap. First, preparing your digital sandbox. Second, 3 ways to install. Third, essential cybersecurity tools. Fourth, your 30-day learning plan. And finally, mistakes and realistic expectations. Starting with Section 1, preparing your digital sandbox. Let's gear up. Before we click any buttons, let's ground ourselves and define what we're actually installing here. Kali Linux is one of the most popular operating systems used globally. It is literally the absolute go-to for ethical hackers and penetration testers, the people who are actually hired to break into systems and find security flaws before the bad guys do. Just understanding the sheer power of this tool is exciting. We are about to install the exact same system used by pros all over the world. So the obvious question, can your computer handle it? Let's look at the minimum versus recommended specs across 3 vital categories. For RAM, the bare minimum is 4 gigs, but honestly, 8 gigs or more is highly recommended. For your processor, virtualization support is a strict requirement, but having an Intel i5 or Ryzen 5 is the recommended tier. And for storage, you need a minimum of 25 gigs of free space, but running it on a solid-state drive, an SSD, is definitely recommended. What's absolutely crucial here is aiming for those recommended specs, especially the SSD and 8 gigs of RAM. That ensures your main computer won't start freezing up or lagging while we practice. Oh, and if you're worried about your graphics card, integrated graphics are totally fine for beginners, assuming you have a minimum internet speed of 5 megabits per second. Now pay attention to this part. You must enable 3D acceleration and virtualization support in your settings. Do not skip these. If you're wondering what those actually do, well, virtualization is essentially the magic trick that lets your computer pretend to be 2 completely different computers at the exact same time. And 3D acceleration, that just prevents the graphics from stuttering, so the environment actually feels smooth to use. They are 100% mandatory for an experience that won't drive you completely crazy.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, 3 ways to install. Time for the deployment phase.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how logically the primary ISO installation method breaks down. It's a clean 6-step sequence. Step 1, download VirtualBox and the Kali ISO file. Just think of an ISO file as a digital version of an old-school installation CD. Step 2, create your new virtual machine and the software. Step 3, allocate your RAM, keeping those specs we just talked about in mind. Step 4, create the virtual hard disk. Step 5, attach that Kali ISO file you downloaded. And finally, Step 6, start the VM and install Kali Linux. Following this path builds your environment from the ground up, and honestly, it is an incredibly satisfying way to understand exactly how the whole system is put together. But hey, building from scratch isn't the only way. For those of you who prefer an out-of-the-box experience, we can just use the import pre-built image method. You simply download the Kali VirtualBox image, import the OVA file, which is basically a pre-packaged, ready-to-go computer all zipped up into a single file, and start the machine. Boom, it's that fast. Alternatively, if we just want to test the waters without committing to a full installation, we can use the live boot method. This boots the system entirely off a USB drive without actually installing a single thing on your hard drive. Let's transition into Section 3, Essential Cybersecurity Tools. Time to look at our gear. As beginners, we have an incredible arsenal available to us entirely for free. This includes our foundation, of course, VirtualBox and Kali Linux, plus some seriously powerful industry standards. Take Nmap, for instance. It helps you scan networks to see exactly what's connected. Then there's Wireshark, which lets you literally listen to network traffic passing by in real time. And VS Code is your go-to coding environment. These get us going from day one. Contrast that with the paid upgrades, VMware Workstation, VPN services, and formal online courses. Now, those are fantastic for sure, but they are investments you should really only consider as your skills naturally grow and you start needing more heavy-duty resources.
Section 4, your 30-day learning plan. We're in the execution phase now.
And this brilliantly illustrates the exact weekly roadmap we're going to follow. Week 1 is strictly foundational. Install, set up, and learn terminal basics. I know it's so tempting to skip ahead, but trust me, we really shouldn't. Week 2, we dedicate time to really mastering Linux commands. Week 3, we pivot to networking basics, figuring out how computers actually talk to each other across the internet. Finally, in Week 4, we get to the fun stuff and explore those beginner security tools. This structured approach ensures we aren't just blindly clicking buttons and hoping for the best. We are building real, deep comprehension week after week. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, Mistakes and Realistic Expectations. Let's be real, knowing how to avoid common pitfalls is just as important as the setup itself. One massive mistake we have to watch out for is allocating too much RAM. If you give the virtual machine all of your system's resources, your main machine will absolutely crash, completely ruining your workflow. Number 2, ignoring updates. We must always keep our systems patched. Number 3, skipping Linux basics. Like we saw in the 30-day plan, jumping straight to the flashy security tools without knowing your Linux commands is just a recipe for massive frustration. And number 4, using weak passwords. Come on, we are stepping into the world of cybersecurity. It only makes sense to practice flawless security hygiene from day one, right? I want to highlight this core philosophy pulled straight from our source material. Learning Kali Linux takes time. Consistency is more important than speed. You know, in the movies, hacking always looks like 30 seconds of furious typing while glowing green text scrolls down a black screen. But in the real world, it's about deep, methodical understanding. Rushing to fire off hacking tools without understanding the foundation isn't going to make us professionals. Consistent, daily, step-by-step practice, that is what actually gets us there. So let me leave you with one final question to wrap up our time together today. Are you ready to deploy your sandbox and begin your 30-day mission? Think about it. We now have the system requirements, the exact step-by-step installation methods, a killer list of powerful free tools, and a structured 4-week plan. The path is laid out perfectly right in front of us. All that is left for you to do is take that very first step. So what are you waiting for?